Dear beloved, welcome back. Today, we're just going to chat pretty briefly about the topic of seasons and how we can look forward to different things in different seasons and also just, reflecting on when we can stop and smell the roses of the season that we're in. So, I don't know about you, but every time it's like the last month of a season, you're like itching for the new season to come. Like I'm talking about in like the year, like the weather seasons, right? It's like April and it's rainy and the flowers are coming and you're like, I just want like the blazing hot sun, or it's the blazing hot sun and you just want the cooler fall temperatures, right? There's something so enticing about the changing of seasons. There's something so enticing about something new coming down the line. And so sometimes when we feel stuck in our own lives, right? We recognize first of all that we have seasons in our own lives. We have seasons where um, we experience different things season to season, much like the weather, right? We're not always bundled up and freezing and holed up in our homes for a season in our lives. Sometimes we're out and about and doing all the things, right? So recognizing that sometimes when we're in a season, it can feel long or tiring or even just like ordinary, right? And we kind of crave a change. And these changes can often look really exciting, and often they can be really exciting or maybe a little scary, right? There's always just kind of this like anxious energy, whether it's like excited anxious or a little bit nervous, right? I don't really know what this is going to hold, that type of thing. But I wanted to talk about this topic today because I feel like um, I've been learning a lesson these past few months about this particular topic of changing seasons. Um, and the things that I've been learning, some of the lessons I've been learning, kind of revolve around the idea of the grass is greener on the other side, right? You hear that phrase, and there's like 10 people and their advice that come to mind, right? Tell me I'm wrong. It is kind of crazy how many people use this phrase, right, for giving advice or whatnot. And one that I've heard recently, and maybe it's kind of well known out there, but it kind of hit me in a new way was, you know, the grass isn't always greener, or it's not that the grass is greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it, right? And I've heard that before, but for some reason, when I heard it this time, it really stuck with me because, sometimes we're in a season where things just feel ordinary and we kind of want to change, like a big change, right? We kind of want that shift of something change that we can feel important or needed or successful, or that we're striving to do something new, or literally insert anything, right? That sometimes we need to slow down and really ask ourselves and ask the Lord in our times of prayer if what he's calling us to is a change. Because sometimes he's calling us to go deeper where we're at, to water our grass, right? To water the grass of the place that he's put us in intentionally right now. And that's kind of the lesson that I've been learning, right? We've been a little while ago, we went through that book, Find Your People. And part of that really stuck to me was how tempting and easy it is to give up on people, right? To give up on friendships, whether they're just not serving you anymore or they're just taking up too much time, or, XYZ. Give any excuse. But one of the things she brought up in that book was like holding on to your people, staying and fighting, right? And that can sometimes be uncomfortable. And for me, it's like when I'm craving something new, it's like, do I have to just stay? Am I being called to stay and to learn this lesson? here. Because to be honest, the biggest lessons and the biggest opportunities for growth don't come when we're maybe enchanted with our lives. It comes in the hard, in the slow, in the monotony of life, right? Any parent will tell you that that's true, right? With the monotony of life, with kids running around, that those years have formed them in ways that they wouldn't have been as single individuals, or just dating, or in a different lifestyle that would allow them to be more selfish with their time and resources, where because they're giving all of themselves at every moment of the day to their children, to these beautiful creatures that they have created, that are also full of energy and jumping on them and touching them all the time and making messes and whatever it may be. Those are the moments where you learn the patience, and you grow in selflessness, and you can really just expand yourself as a human, right? It's in those moments of living out our callings, whether that's in a job, whether that's in your studies, right? Procrastination is the easy way out. Giving up on your studying is the easy way out. Staying and finishing that chapter, or staying and finishing those 10 chapters, or staying and writing that paper is harder. However, that discipline is helping you be better. It's helping you be disciplined. And if you had stretched that muscle maybe in college when you were single and you got married and you were, I don't know, in grad school and you had a kid, that discipline that you had done in college helps prepare you so that you can have that same discipline when you don't have the time to mess around, that you have to write that paper when it's due so that you can be there for your child, right? Or your wife, or your parents who need you, or XYZ. And so sometimes what we're called to do, not sometimes, we're always called to be where we're at. And sometimes we are called to shift, to take a leap of faith, to step out, and to change where we're at, to change our experience. But a lot of times we were called to a place and a time to be there. And so sometimes when I'm facing that decision of stay or go, or change or stay, or whatever it may be, is to sit and think, have I learned every lesson that I was put here to learn? And then maybe you can ask yourself, have I learned every lesson I've put here to learn well? Do I have to maybe learn some of these lessons again? We never want to ask that question, right? We never want to learn our lessons twice, right? If we've learned it the hard way, especially, we don't want to have to learn that again, for sure. But sometimes if we haven't learned them right, then we do need to learn them again, and we need that humility to stop and sit and say, yeah, okay, Lord, like, help me learn this lesson again, because clearly I didn't get it through my thick head, right? Help me again to learn it so I can be my best for you and for those you put around me. So, that's what we can talk about seasons in like a big kind of like seasons of life type stuff, right? Big seasons. But we can also talk about seasons of like maybe shorter term, or just not as like big and showy. Like maybe it's a season of desolation, or a season of consolation, or a season of a lot of connectedness, a lot of connection, a lot of community. Or maybe it's a season of a little bit of loneliness because your community is traveling without you, or whatever it may be, right? That there will always be different seasons in our lives. And yeah, some can just straight up stink. I won't sugarcoat that. Sometimes it's really hard. like a season of illness, for example, or a season of injury. Like, I don't know if you were ever a kid and broke your arm and all your friends are out in the neighborhood playing and you can't join them because your arm's broken, right? Or for me, for a long time, I was really, really sick and I was um, holed up at home on my couch and I couldn't really go anywhere. I was attached to things that couldn't move, so I was literally on my couch for hours and hours every day. Um, and that was my season for a long time. And I couldn't get up and do anything even if I wanted to. And so sometimes the way that people can come alongside you, and the way that you need people and that people need you can change depending on your season, right? So, for example, a mother who just had a baby, right? Their season is postpartum and survival and taking care of their baby. And as a friend to that mother, you can aid her in that season by bringing her a hot meal or offering to come and do her laundry, right? Offering to come and clean her kitchen, offering to come and just sit with her, to offer, an adult conversation because she talks gibberish to her child all day. Things like that, right? There's different seasons, and there's different things that each of us need in different seasons. And so sometimes it can be hard. One of the lessons that you continue to learn is the lesson of learning how to ask for help. This has been so true in my life, right? Just when I thought I got good at asking for help, my season changed. And maybe I was more independent and whatnot, right? For example, I was in like maybe high school age. Yeah, I was in high school and I had hurt my ankle really bad and I had to have surgery on it. And I was on crutches and I was at like a summer camp and I had to ask for somebody to carry my plate through the line to get food and then to bring it to my chair to sit down, right? And obviously this is a very like obvious need, clearly, like I cannot hold a plate, it will fall and break. It's a very like you can tell it's a need, it's visual. So it was clearly kind of easily understood, I guess I could say, that I needed help here, right? So in a way, it was like there were like two criteria. One, it was like a necessity. Like it was like non-negotiable. I needed help. And the second was that I didn't really have to explain myself because it was like kind of visual, right? So even though it was hard, um, because of those two things, that made it easier, right? It was a necessity. I needed it, and it was clear why I needed it, right? And so, as I went through that summer, I thought, I'm learning this lesson. It's been hard, but you know what? I'll remember this, when I need to ask for help when I'm fine. But lo and behold, I got better, could walk, I could do these things for myself again, right? I became independent again. And so, when things happened after that I, didn't have those two criteria, wasn't in the same situation, etc., it's been hard to ask for help again, right? And now down the road, recently I thought of this because, with a lot of times with illness, it's internal, right? Injuries are kind of external, but illnesses are internal, whether it be mental health or chronic illness or, a headache. Those things you can't really see. So, more recently I was kind of debilitated with a headache and just not having a great symptom day with my illness. And it was really hard for me, but I knew I needed to reach out and ask for someone to like feed me, right? And so those criteria were no longer there, right? Well, the first was kind of there. It was a necessity. I needed to eat, right? But it wasn't necessarily a necessity that I couldn't, like, I had the ability to stand up, walk up the stairs, flip something on the stove, and put it in my mouth, right? There was that ability, but it would have caused a lot more pain and it would have, etc. So that criteria was not there. And the other criteria of it being, a physical thing that you can see wasn't there either, right? So it was really hard to ask for help and to be humble enough to be like, I can't really explain it to you, right? I know it's not, you probably wouldn't ask, I don't know. You probably don't understand, but like, here's my food. Can you heat it up for me and bring it to me, right? Um, Things like that are lessons that sometimes you have to relearn because criteria changes, because seasons change, and because, as time goes on, we become more and more independent in different ways and in different things. And so that independence hinders us from our our dependence on other people, our asking for help, our asking to come alongside somebody or whatever it may be. Right? So all of those things. And much like seasons in the year, like the weather, things do change. So that's something to remember, is that the season that you're in won't be forever. And so if you're called maybe to be in the season you're in and not to rush it, not to rush to change, um, to remember that it will change eventually, right? That it will change eventually, and that we only need to be patient and to stop and to listen to what the Lord is asking us to do in that moment. Is that to stop and to look at those around you who are experiencing the same things? Is it to stop and focus on what's really important? Is it to stop and relearn a lesson, right? Is it to stop so that He can grow even closer to you, right? All of these are possibilities of what He's asking when He asks us to be in our season. But, He created us in a way that we are constantly growing and maturing and learning new things. So we can't ever stay like stuck. We can't ever stay stagnant. So even in those moments when we feel like that, something's happening. Either you're going to grow in more frustration or you're going to grow in more patience, right? The decision there is yours. But even so, right, we're not going to be stuck forever because that's not how He designed us. And He always honors His design, always. And so, like the changing of the seasons, there will be something new coming, even if it's predictable, right? We know every year winter will come, and every year summer will come, and every year fall will come, and every year spring will come. These things we know, right? Because it's a cycle. And so sometimes it's the same thing. We maybe feel, I don't know, we're in a season of really learning lessons and growing closer with the Lord. So we're maybe like on the surface, like alone a little bit more, but really we're like deep in our own stuff. And then maybe we have a season of kind of, we rise to the surface and we can share and we can be close to people and we can really dive into our relationships. And maybe there's, a season of hard relationships, right? Hard things that were going on with people, or we're walking through people through hard things with other people, etc., right? And maybe there's, a cycle of joy, just unabounding joy and gratitude, right? Of this beautiful life that we've been given and that the Lord has given us, right? And even if we don't know which is coming after each one, we know that these are all a possibility and that, as our experience can tell us, we can experience all of these, and that we really will see a change eventually. And, one of these possibilities will be our next season. So that's just a little bit of an encouragement today for you. If you find yourself in a season that you're maybe itching to get out of, or you've just gotten into a new season and it's not as green as you thought it was, or whatever it may be, I just wanted to spend this time with you chatting about it, to see if we can learn how to just continue to grow closer to our Lord in any way possible. Meaning, anywhere where we are, any season we're in, that we can continue to grow closer to Him, because that's the most important thing. So, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you did, please let me know, and let me know what else you'd like to hear from the Beloved Collective and the Dear Beloved podcast. Until next time.